Welcome to NFL World, where NFL starts and ends. I'm your host, Jacob, and welcome to the NFL Dream. Now, for this episode, we're going to head to New Orleans and talk about the New Orleans Saints, who notable re-signings, notable moves they made during this offseason were they brought back Brandon Cooks, who's been traded a lot. Not his fault. He's just a good soldier. Teams want him to be on their team. He kind of slipped a little last year. Wasn't as good as we all saw. Like, he didn't play very well. So there was issues from him. They brought back Will Clapp, former center. He played for the Saints. He was drafted by them. Now he returns. Jack Stoll, blocking tight end, played with the Eagles. Now he's over here. Isaac Yiadom signed a 3-year contract to stay with the team. Or to go to the Saints, I should say. Dewan Johnson re-signed with the team. They actually voided his contract at the end of last year. They brought him back on a 3-year deal. Justin Reed signed a 3-year deal. He's going to take over for Tyrann Mathieu. He's going to do all kinds of things. Dante Pettis, he brings some special teams value. He was there. He signed. Chase Young, he re-ups. Jonah Williams, he signs a 1-year deal. Landon Young, he signs a 1-year deal. Other notable moves were Nephi Sewell signed a 1-year deal, which he was an exclusive rights free agent. So there you go. Dylan Radunes, offensive lineman, signed a 1-year deal. Ugo Amani signed a 1-year deal. And so that's all the free agency, I should say. Their draft picks go as follows. Kelvin Banks, the offensive lineman out of Texas, who will play tackle for them. Tyler Shuck, the quarterback out of Louisville, who was just named the backup today after Derek Carr retired, and they gave the job to Spencer Rattler. In round 3, Vernon Brockton, the defensive tackle out of Texas. Jonas Sanker, the safety from Virginia, also in the 3rd round. Danny Strutzman, the linebacker of Oklahoma. And Quincy Riley, the cornerback from Louisville, both in the 4th round. No 5th round pick. 6th round pick, Devin Neal, running back from Kansas. Round 7, Malik, I believe it's pronounced Matavo, the tight end from UCLA. Also in round 7, Fadil Diggs, the defensive end from Syracuse. So you could kind of see what they were trying to do. Build up, the offense was important, but they really went defensive heavy to try to fill, because they have a very old roster. Their roster's old. Cam Jordan's old. Demario Davis is old. They still are really good players. They're just older guys. You don't need a lot of older guys. You need an infusion of youth, so to speak. And they lost key contributors as well. Paulson Adebo signed with the Giants. Will Harris signed with the Commanders. Peyton Turner signed with the Cowboys. He was just placed on IR today as part of an IR stash. Shamar John Charles, signed with the Seahawks. Willie Gay Jr. signed with the Dolphins. Other players lost, /released, /voided, any other term they want to use. Cam Akers, Jamal Williams, both were released. Lucas Patrick signed with the Bengals. Juwan Johnson, as we said before, they voided his contract. They brought him back on a 3-year deal. Chase Young, they did the same thing. So there you go. That quickly explains what happens in there, who they lost in free agency this year. This was a team that went 5-12. They were a fine team a year or two before, but they went 5-12. They started out so hot. They had the most points. They won the first 2 games. To only win 3 games the entire rest of the year It's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You can blame that on Dennis Allen all you want. You can put a lot of blame on Dennis Allen. That's not the reason you lost. You were not competitive. You were not competitive at all. With or without Derek Carr. With or without Spencer Rattler. You were not competitive. It didn't matter who the quarterback was. You were not competitive. That's on you. That's on you as an organization. You were not competitive. And what you had, your pieces that you had, were not competitive. You weren't able to be competitive. That's what that means. It's that plain and simple. You were not able to be competitive. Since that was the case, out the door you go. It's that simple. It's that simple. Out the door you go. You weren't competitive. That's the easiest thing to do, is to just try and be competitive. They weren't. They lost the last 4 games. They won 29.4% of their games. They were better at home than they were on the road, which is good. But that's not really showing much. They were not good. They struggled, they struggled, they struggled, they struggled, they struggled, and they struggled. That's not good, okay? That is not good. That's not a good thing. That's a bad thing. That's a thing they need to address. That's why you brought in a Kellen Moore. And you thought Kellen Moore, Derek Carr, that would work. It didn't, because Derek Carr said he was going to retire after the draft. So you didn't have a choice. You could have drafted the quarterback at 9. You drafted the tackle instead. You could have tried to draft Shedeur Sanders. You chose not to. You decided to go with Tyler Shuck thinking that would work, but it didn't. And then he was in line to be the starter, and then they did a quarterback competition to see who would win, and Spencer Rattler won. And we saw how that played out last year. There was quarterbacks that you could trade for it, but Kenny Pickett now is going to the Raiders. That would have been a good choice to try. Something better than Spencer Rattler would have been nice. That's all I'm saying. Something better than Spencer Rattler would have been nice. They don't have that. They never did. Not on this current team. The way they built their roster is going to be tough in terms of how they have to play this year. I mean, you look at the schedule. Their schedule is very tough. For a 4th place schedule, it's tough. Their bye week is week 11. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's the top-heavy schedule that's the problem. They're home for Arizona. They're home for San Francisco. They're at Seattle. They're at Buffalo. They're home for the Giants and Patriots. They're at Chicago. They're home for Tampa Bay. They're at the Rams. They're at Carolina. Then they hit their bye week. The only nice thing is you face Buffalo, Seattle, and Chicago, and Carolina, all in the beginning half of the year, so the weather is not bad. You come back from the bye week, home for Atlanta, at Miami, at Tampa Bay, home for Carolina, home for the Jets, at Tennessee, which is tough. It's going to be very cold. That's December 28th. You finish off the year at the Falcons. That's what happens. This is not a bad team, a bad schedule if you're thinking about, okay, when are you facing a team? In the last calendar month, are we facing easier teams? Yes. Okay. How many wins can we get in the first month then? In the second month then? And I look at that and I'm like, I don't even know if they can get 3. I don't know. I don't think so. Because I look at it and said, Arizona's better, San Francisco's better, Seattle's better, Buffalo's way better. The Giants could be better. The Giants could easily be better than that. I mean, we saw that game last year. That game was brutal. That game was like if you pulled your teeth, you ran out of teeth, and you pulled your gums instead. That's what happened. It was so bad. I think the ending score was 12-9. Like, that was awful. I don't want to see that again. Especially now with Spencer Rattler. Then you got New England. New England's better, I think. That's easy. Chicago, I think, will be way better. Tampa Bay's way better. The Rams are way better. Carolina is on your heels. They finished the same record as you did last year, and they were awful as an offense. That just shows how bad you were. Miami in Miami and Miami, but even Miami in the Dome is going to beat you. They're just that much better than you are. That's just what it is. I'm not comparing apples to. I am comparing apples to oranges here when I'm thinking about Miami and New Orleans. The Jets, okay, I could see that. Tennessee, okay, sure. I think they'll be better, but I think you might be better than they are. And Atlanta, okay. Yeah, Atlanta, who's kind of like both after the bye week and both after the bye week and then at the end of the regular season. But I see 5 wins, maybe. I see 5-12 again, because this roster's not good enough. And you can say, well, it's Mickey Loomis's fault. It's not, though. You lost a lot of pieces and have never been able to find. You've never been good in the draft. You haven't been good in the draft as looking for quarterbacks. I'm going to tell you a quick story, my quick Green Bay Packers story. So, in the 90s, when Brett Favre was with the Packers and they're tearing everything up and they're doing such a great job, and he was in Green Bay for I don't know how many years. They drafted a quarterback every year or every other year. They go into the end of the season, they would have a great record. They'd sit Favre for a game so he could stay healthy. They played the backup quarterback that they drafted. They play him that game, and they would have a lot of success in doing this. At the end of the year, they trade the quarterback to a team for a value pick. So if they spent a 6th-round pick on the quarterback and the quarterback played well at the end of the year, someone's going to be calling, and they might say, hey, we'll give you a 4th-round pick for him. Okay, sure. And then they hang up the phone and be like, we just got a 4th-round pick for a 6th-round talent. That's what they did. The Saints and a lot of other teams should do that too. But why the Saints decide that their best course of action is Spencer Rattler, Tyler Shuck, and that's what we're rolling with? It's not good. It's not good. And it's going to be rough in the Big Easy for the time being, and maybe even in the future. But let me know what you guys think. Do you think the Saints will be better in 2025 than they were in 2024? Or is that just an aberration? For NFL World, I'm Jacob Hewitt.